I was down bad for a little, so I ended up letting Flight Mike give me some Tinder advice.
Coop, what was the advice I gave you?
Flight Mike was like, have you tried showing off your ass? And I was like,
What? I didn't say that!
Yeah.
He's making this up! He's making this up! I never said that! No, what are you doing?
I wish I was.
Bro, my parents listen to this podcast, bro!
I paraphrased. Do you want me to say what you really said?
Yeah, say it, yes!
This guy used to have an app that swiped for him.
Bro, you are exposing. Oh my God.
I wish I was lying.
Bro, we're never gonna get sponsors on this pod. Oh my God. I hate you guys.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Laced Up Podcast, and it is NBA playoff time. I'm here with my boys.
GetLikeCoop. Damn it.
Flight Mike.
Bro,
Ooh, okay.
Sorry. You know, like, I thought I was in a dream of mine, you know, like...
You know.
Yeah, a dream where the Los Angeles Lakers were not in the play-in game.
Oh my
God. How does it feel, Mike? How does it feel?
It feels great. We wanted to give you guys some entertaining basketball, so we decided to participate in the play-in. You're welcome, by the way. How are the Chicago Bulls? Are they in the play-in? Or the Pelicans?
We've got a great seat to watch the playoffs, and we are going to lose our draft pick, but that's not what we're talking about. You know, let's talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. Let's talk about, is there a chance? Do the Lakers lose to both the Golden State Warriors and then to potentially the Grizzlies? On top of that, we want to do a bonus giveaway for Apple Podcast listeners, for people who leave us a 5-star review.
We're going to pick one of those reviews to win $100 each and every week. We're going to announce the winners on our community tab, and this way we can start giving back to you guys as soon as possible.
Yep, we are very grateful for you guys. You guys have been showing a lot of love on the podcast. We want to give back as much as possible, and we want to, start that Apple Podcast grind, because we are there too, as well as we are on Spotify. So if you want to follow there, that'd be awesome as well.
So, being the logical Los Angeles Laker fan that I am, being so unbiased and benevolent, here's my take on the situation. I think there is a chance they lose to the Golden State Warriors. I'm not going to lie. Whenever you go up against Steph Curry, a team that has been to 5 NBA finals, like, the nucleus of that team is there. Yeah, Klay Thompson's out, but you got Steve Kerr, you got Draymond Green, you got Steph Curry, who's the scoring champion this year. There is a chance you might lose. There is a chance. But even if the Lakers were to lose that game, I feel like they'd be able to beat the San Antonio Spurs or the Memphis Grizzlies. And honestly, I wouldn't mind that outcome either, because personally, I'd rather, if the Lakers were to win that second game, like lose to the Warriors and win the second play-in, they'd be the 8th seed. They face the Utah Jazz in the first round as opposed to the Phoenix Suns. I think that's a better matchup for them. And then if the Clippers are to win that first round game, then they'll meet in the second round. So I'd prefer that, actually.
Flight Mike, I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't want to play the Memphis Grizzlies. That's not a game I would feel incredibly confident about. Yeah, I think the Lakers are going to make the playoffs for sure, but the Memphis Grizzlies are a very tough team, and that's kind of dating back to the Zebo, Marc Gasol days. This team is not going to go down easy.
Most definitely. I agree. John Morant is amazing. The Memphis Grizzlies, by the way, I want to give a huge shout out to them, because they should not be here. A rebuilding team should not be in this stage of their development where they are.
I don't think we can call them rebuilding anymore either.
I would not call them rebuilding.
Yeah.
Their roster is a lot of vets.
So if that's the case, if we're not calling them rebuilding, then this is probably the quickest rebuild I've ever seen. Like, you draft.
What about the Atlanta Hawks?
All right, true. The Atlanta Hawks as well. But, I wanted to give...
Or the Mavericks.
Turn that right back around. Or the Knicks. I don't know.
The Knicks was... No. The Knicks was not the quickest rebuild I've ever... Yeah, that's the longest rebuild we've ever seen.
All right, maybe not rebuild, but quickest turnaround.
It just took 10 seasons.
Yeah, like, it's been a minute, man. It's taken the Knicks a minute.
You're saying Grizzlies' quickest turnaround from, like, okay, they were in the playoffs to now they were out and then back in.
I think they just punted on their previous core at the proper time. They traded Marc Gasol when they should have traded Marc Gasol. They traded Mike Conley when they should have traded him. Like, right when they had his successor, they hit on Jaren Jackson Jr. They have really good role players that could take over games like Dylan Brooks. I absolutely love that. Yeah, great pick. Smart. I have a lot of respect for teams that do very smart drafting. But back to my Los Angeles Lakers, I still think that the Lakers would wipe the floor with the Grizzlies. You know,
I think they would destroy the Grizzlies.
You think they destroy the Grizzlies? That's not fair.
Destroy them. Destroy. At that point, I don't care what's happening. This is game 7. Play-in games right now are game 7s. LeBron game 7 against that Grizzlies core with Ja, who's never made the playoffs. I'm taking the Lakers in a blowout. I don't think LeBron's letting it get close.
Yeah, so guys, we are capping off the giveaway to the first 40,000 subscribers that turn on our notifications for the Laced Up podcast. All you have to do to enter for a chance to win a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X is subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you want to do us a favor, leave a like on the pod and let me know in the comment section down below when it's done. You'll enter for a chance to win a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X. So here's my question to you guys. I'm sure you guys heard this narrative. I made a video on this narrative on my main channel about the Los Angeles Clippers losing their final 2 games, which, by the way, I want you to understand the significance of this. They lost to the Houston Rockets when they had a starting 5 that didn't have Kawhi Leonard or Paul George. They had like Zubac in there. They didn't have Terrence Mann, but they had someone else that I actually don't know. They had here, actually, let me go ahead and search this up for you guys.
All right, since you didn't give me a chance to reply to Korzemba, I'm going to do it now. I'm trying to find, I know the regular season doesn't really matter like that, but I'm trying to find the Grizzlies versus the Lakers in the regular season. Obviously, I don't think it's like a tell-all.
AD and LeBron.
I don't think it's a tell-all. I know, I'm not trying to find the games where they were
I think
out.
it's a tell none.
But
listen, if we're going off
Warriors tough.
Listen, if we're going off regular season stuff with the Lakers right now, like I don't think that we can, because if we were, then we'd be like, okay, the Lakers are a play-in team that's like, you know, gonna probably lose.
Well, no, I'm not talking about like their recent. I'm not talking about without AD and Bron. I know they've missed a ton of time. I'm trying to see if they played with AD and Bron, because I just want something. I just want something to kind of go off. And again, I don't think the regular season really matters like that. But for discussion purposes, it would be interesting to see how they fared against the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, technically, I'll give it to you that, anyone could win one game. So I'm not going to just completely rule them out, but I'm going to do as much ruling out as I can. Because I can't see LeBron losing in the play-in game. And you know what? I would love to see the Warriors win the first game, and then first of all, we're counting out the Spurs right now. Spurs could easily win against the Grizzlies.
I would be shocked. I would be completely floored if
I would be shocked as well.
We'll see. Ooh. I'm just saying we're counting them out. We're counting
I am. I'm not gonna lie. I'll go on the record and say I am 100% counting out the Spurs. I think they're
okay. That's fine.
Automatically.
I'm keeping it there.
Okay.
You know? Anyway, with the Spurs in mind, whatever. Regardless, I would love to see the Lakers lose to the Golden State Warriors. Warriors are in. What is the ref situation going to look like in that second game with LeBron potentially not playing in the playoffs and the NBA facing a massive, massive revenue cut? Because if LeBron and the Lakers are not playing in the playoffs, the NBA is losing money. It's that simple. I would make an in-game conspiracy video about that. You know, we look back at old playoff series. We look back at the Lakers Kings. We look back at Dallas Mavericks, Miami Heat NBA Finals back in the day. I don't know what's going to happen if LeBron is playing in one single game to determine if he plays in the playoffs or not. Well, I'd imagine he'd be getting quite a few calls.
Here's the thing. I used to think this way as well. You know, I used to think, hey, you know, LeBron is a huge cash cow for the NBA, especially now the NBA needs as much revenue as they possibly can get. So clearly there's going to be some calls going LeBron's way. Clearly some games are going to be rigged in LeBron's way. But if that was the case, then wouldn't you think that last year in the second round of the NBA playoffs, when the Los Angeles Clippers faced the Denver Nuggets, the refs would do everything they possibly could?
No, because I think it's much harder for a whole playoff series. That's so much harder. If you look at specific playoff series that are like deemed rigged, you will look and you will find that there are specific games that are targeted as games that are the rigged ones. Like if you look at the Heat and the Dallas Mavericks, for instance, there are games that Dwayne Wade had like 25, 30 free throws. And that is the game that people say is rigged. So I think it's much easier to rig. I mean, you can't fully rig a game at the end of the day, but you can definitely, the calls can definitely be going the Lakers' way. Things could be going the Lakers' way in the most beneficial way possible. LeBron could be going to the rim and getting touched, and getting foul calls. I think it's way easier in one game than it is in a series by far.
So if that's the case, you don't think that the NBA would have any interest whatsoever in rigging any playoff game? Last year, they only needed one game. The Clippers only needed one game to make it to the Western Conference Finals and face the Lakers. And clearly that would have driven up ratings significantly. You don't think? I'm just giving you a counter argument here.
I just think it's like, first of all, I'm not saying the NBA will definitely rig, but I'm saying I would assume that the whistles are going to be going the Lakers' way. But second of all, I mean, like I said, it's harder for during a series than it is during just one single game.
Well, yeah.
All it takes is a few calls. All it takes is a few calls going the Lakers' way. And I'm sure, I mean, we don't know this for a fact, but Adam Silver, like the Lakers missing out on the playoffs is devastating. That is devastating for the NBA. It's both the Lakers and LeBron. It's just a horrible two-headed monster that they do not want to see. It would be horrible.
It's a media storm at the same time. Like, you got a lot to talk about. And the offseason, and the offseason, and the offseason. That would drag on.
But we don't get to watch LeBron play playoff basketball. Those ratings are getting... what do you think the ratings are for Lakers versus Suns or Lakers versus Jazz game compared to like a Grizzlies or Spurs versus the same team? Not even close. It's not going to be close. And like the possibility of LeBron, of course, having a historic run, going back to the finals as a 7 or an 8 seed, that is something that would be awesome for his legacy, would be incredible. Even though I'm going to already take away some points for a potential legacy run, as like, I don't think he should get credit for being a 7 or an 8 seed because they were injuries. They're just going to end up playing like the better teams anyway, just a little earlier. But regardless of anything, that storyline would blow up, the NBA ratings. Everyone would be watching. And the NBA needs ratings, as we just saw with Mike mentioned. But yeah, it looks like the NBA is going to be adding 2 expansion teams because of financial problems due to this whole pandemic.
First of all, awesome. It's about time Vegas and Seattle. I'm assuming it's going to be Vegas and Seattle.
Yeah, I really hope Seattle. Vegas, I don't know. We're going to get some hilarious stories out of that.
I can't wait to see the expansion draft, because last time there was an expansion draft, it was all the way in like 2005. And you had a player that probably wouldn't end up having as good of a career as he did in Gerald Wallace blowing up. So I'm excited. It should be really fun to see. But I wanted to touch on your commentary on ratings, because I don't think ratings are 100% tied to LeBron. Yeah, he boosts ratings from time to time, but if you pay attention to, say, the 2019 NBA Finals, it was one of the lower rated NBA Finals over the past decade, but I believe that an NBA Finals or an NBA playoff series without LeBron James might be necessary in order to hopefully be able to move on from LeBron James when he inevitably retires. So yeah, there is incentive for the NBA to try to keep him in, but typically whenever there were things historically that the NBA could have done to artificially pump its ratings, I just don't see it happening. Like Zion Williamson, he should have been a Knick if they really wanted ratings to go up. Hell, he could have been a Laker, really, if you think about it.
That is a completely different thing. The NBA draft, I don't think is rigged at all. There's like a ton of, at this point, like maybe in the past, literally like maybe Patrick Ewing, that was rigged. They were doing different things back then. They had like, they were reeling an envelope thing. Now they bring team officials from every single team. They bring the media members, select media members. They take everyone's cell phone. They do the draft lottery in a back room 4 hours before the draft lottery actually gets revealed. That's completely different. That is something they really can't rig at this point. I don't think that's the same thing at all. I understand what you're saying with the NBA needs to find someone to move on from Zion. I mean, from LeBron, that like they're going to be looking for someone, but this isn't like a rebuilding team where it's like, okay, like let's these guys could do well for us. Like the NBA is in a current situation where they obviously want their ratings to be as best as possible. So I think that it's going to be in their best interest to have LeBron in.
So here's my question to you. I
think we're spending a long time on this.
Yeah. So I was about to say, I mentioned earlier, before I was able to pull up the actual lineup, the Los Angeles Clippers, towards the end of the season, they had 2 games left. Okay. The first game was against the Houston Rockets, the worst team, like statistically, in terms of win-loss record, the worst team in the NBA. In that game, they started Rajon Rondo, Jay Scrubb, his name's literally Jay Scrubb, Luke Kennard, Marcus Morris, and Ivica Zubac. And, some Clipper fans say, hey, we're just resting our players, which is kind of weird, resting your players when you're a couple of games away from potentially attaining a higher seed. And then, conveniently enough, the Clippers went against the OKC Thunder, which I believe is like the 3rd worst team in the NBA, if I'm correct. And once again, starting 5 that didn't have Kawhi Leonard or Paul George in it, rested for load management. And yeah, you could make the argument, hey, we're resting our players. But at the same time, if you have an opportunity to get a higher seed and you're like a game or 2 away from potentially winning a higher seed, at least from my understanding historically, teams do everything they can to try to get that higher seed.
Well, I mean, at the same time, like, what is home court now? Like, is it really going to be like that important in these playoffs? Like, do we know the capacity that of fans that's going to be let inside an arena?
It varies.
It can. At least the way I'm understanding it is, as we get deeper and deeper in the playoffs, we might see larger and larger crowds. That remains to be seen. But regardless,
I don't think it's not. I was gonna say it's not as much home court. Not like it's more of like the Lakers are straight up avoiding the Clippers. I mean, the Clippers are straight up avoiding the Lakers.
Yeah, I also think it's just one of those things where it's like it just made sense. Like, why would you want to play the Lakers in the first round? You get to rest your players. I mean, I think LeBron had an ankle injury in the final game. He had a little scare or something. So it's just one of those situations where you're being better safe than sorry. And I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to play the Lakers either.
I would say it's a smart strategy move, but like it also comes across as they're being little bitches. But yeah, so that's why they're getting like hate, of course. I mean, they're straight up. You know what I'll say? Okay, so we get the Los Angeles Clippers. We get Kawhi Leonard. We get Paul George. We get these 2 guys, and we get a lot of hype. We get the battle for LA. Look at these guys. They're going to take over. This is going to be an amazing, battle. And then we have the Lakers. They're not doing anything to avoid the Clippers. They're like, all right, let's play the Clippers. Bring them on. Whatever. The Clippers are over here going, let's try to avoid the Lakers as much as possible because they're not saying like, okay, we'll see them in the Western Conference Finals. They're saying hopefully they get knocked out beforehand. So if you're going to be hyping up the battle for LA and everything, then I think that the Clippers deserve every single amount of hate that is thrown at them for basically tanking the last 2 games. I mean, throwing the games. It's pretty obvious that they did that, but I mean, we'll see if it ends up being a smart strategic move.
You also have to think about like Tyronn Lue too. Isn't it his first year, right? So if you're first year head coach, obviously you're not going to want to get bounced in the first round by the Los Angeles Clippers, or you're going to be, by the Lakers, or you're going to be on the hot seat. So
they would never play the Lakers in the first round.
Wait, what?
The Lakers set it up so the Clippers set it up so that they are now the 4 seed, and they're playing the Mavericks in the first round, and then they would play the winner. What the Clippers are assuming, which by the way could blow up in their face, which would be hilarious. I hope the Golden State Warriors win, so this does blow up in their face, okay? Because the Clippers are assuming, based on the playing game, the 7 and the 8 seeds play. Whoever wins that game becomes the 7 seed. The Clippers lost, assuming that the Lakers are going to be the 7 seed. So now the Clippers are in the 4-5 seed matchup and would play the winner of the Jazz and potentially, let's say, Warriors or Grizzlies or whatever. That is what the Clippers think is going to happen. That is what. But if the Lakers end up winning, if the Lakers end up losing to the Warriors and then they win the second game, then the Lakers become the 8th seed and the Clippers would ironically play them in the second round if both teams were to win.
So I have a question for both of you guys. Do you think the Clippers this year are stronger than last year's Clippers? Do you think they're a better team?
Yeah, I think they're a better team for sure. And I think they learned from a lot of their mistakes. To touch back on what I said earlier, I now understand what you're saying, Korzemba. And at the same time, though, like, can you blame Tyronn Lue for like for trying to avoid the Lakers at all costs? I know, like you said, like it's a weak move, but I know you're a Bulls fan. If you could have avoided LeBron in the playoffs, you would have did it, hands down, right?
Listen, like that's what I'm saying. Like I like appreciate the strategy. I think it is a smart strategic move. But when you go into this like hype up mode of like we're gonna be the Kings of LA, we're gonna take over, and then you avoid them, you deserve any criticism coming your way for doing that.
Are they still doing that though? Have they still been doing that? Like, yo, we're the big bad Clippers. We're taking
It's more of
over
I
LA.
think it's more of a situation where it was like LeBron and the big three, where it was like not 1, not 2, not 3, and then they lost the finals the first year and they shut up and stopped doing things like that. Like
It was
the Clippers,
yeah.
it was a lot of hype in the first year. Honestly, the Clippers have been flying under the radar.
Yeah, I feel like they've learned. I feel like they've learned at least a small lesson from last year. I think they've been humbled a little bit.
So,
I could definitely see the Clippers being a surprise team because of that, honestly.
So yeah, I was actually going to get into a matchup. I could see them. I think they're like the number one biggest boom or bust team in the West. I think they could either surprise a lot of people, and if they fulfill their potential, they can make a deep run. Or I could see them even losing to the Dallas Mavericks in the first round. And if you remember last year in the NBA playoffs, when Porzingis was healthy with Doncic, the Los Angeles Clippers had a decent amount of trouble with them. Now, earlier on in the NBA season, the Mavericks got off to a very slow start because I think they became a significantly worse team this year because they got rid of some of their shooting. They lost Seth Curry. But after the acquisition of JJ Redick, it seems to me that they are a significantly better team, and I think they could take out the Clippers if they are fully healthy this year.
You think JJ Redick makes the Mavericks a lot better?
No. I'm saying that they got some shooting back, and they're able to space the floor.
JJ Redick?
I mean, bro, if I told you Seth Curry makes a team a lot better, you'd look at me funny too.
Yo, I'm a Pelicans fan. I watched JJ Redick all year. He was terrible. I'm about to see if he got better with the Mavericks though.
I'll agree. Seth Curry makes the team
but like
better.
if you take
Seth Curry for sure.
But like Seth Curry, I think Seth Curry is probably one of the more underrated players because goes to the Sixers. The Sixers did a remarkable job in the offseason getting some shooting, space the floor a little bit better, place a bigger emphasis on defense. Now they're the number 1 seed in the East. But back to the Mavericks and Clippers, I think there's a chance the Mavericks could pull this off. I think there's a better chance that the Clippers win, but either way, I think that there is so much at stake for the Los Angeles Clippers this year. Like, Kawhi Leonard could opt out after this season. And yeah, he's already experienced like postseason success. He's won 2 championships. He's won a finals MVP. He's won it as the guy for a team that's never won a championship before. And now I remember like when he tried to sign, when he was going into his free agency, his number 1 priority was being back in LA or California. I don't exactly recall when. It was one of those two. This free agency would probably answer that question for us. So if you're Kawhi Leonard, you're taking a step back. You're with the Los Angeles Clippers. First year didn't go according to plan. Second year, this year, if you get bounced out in the first round, the Clippers have no cap space. There's no way to improve this team. Maybe if they make some sort of trade, possibly, but they're already committed to Paul George. They already are committed to players like Luke Kennard, Marcus Morris. So at this point, this is the best the team's going to get. So if they're bounced out in the first round, what do you think the odds are that Kawhi Leonard stays?
I mean, I hate to say it just based on interest level, but from everything that I hear from members of the media and everything, it sounds like Kawhi is pretty committed to staying behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, like, you don't know. Like, we don't know. And I think a first round loss, especially, yeah, that would make you, you have to consider, because, a second round, if you lose, let's say they lose to, I don't know, they haven't had that great, like, they haven't been a top team. But if you lose in the first round, yeah, you get bounced. You have to rethink a lot of things. Same with the Sixers, who we could get into later on. But if the Sixers don't even reach the Eastern Conference Finals, they have the easiest path in the East right now. If they don't reach the Eastern Conference Finals, like, you start to question things like, oh, do we finally make a move? So with Kawhi, it sounds like he's going to stay. He literally left an NBA champion to go to the Clippers. So I'm not sure where his motive is in terms of winning, like where that is in his priority list, or like, does he love the LA lifestyle? Does he just like, being marketed and having his name out there? I would love to see remember back when he was in San Antonio and Toronto, he had this whole thing about how he wasn't getting marketed enough and he wasn't making enough money, marketing wise. He wasn't making shoe money. He wasn't getting any of that. I would love to see a comparison of how much money he's made since he's been in LA, because I think that's very important.
With Kawhi, I mean, I think it's just too much speculation for me to call it. I really don't want to make assumptions on whether he's going to stay or if he's going to go, because there's just too many moving pieces right now. Like you said, like, what if the Clippers do get bounced in the first round? What if they make a decent run? I remember when he was with Toronto, I was like, oh, if they win a championship, no way he's leaving. I think we saw him at a Blue Jays game like a few days later or something, right? And of course, he ends up going to the Clippers. So Kawhi is one of those guys where he's just like on his own type of time, and I'm not even sure he knows what's going on right now. So
if I was him, I wouldn't know either. I would be I would want it to work out. I would want it to work out in LA. But yeah, if your team loses in the first round, especially to Luka, an up and coming superstar, yet he is a superstar at this point. If you lose straight up to Luka and the Dallas Mavericks, that's kind of like even more like, you're not losing to a Chris Paul or someone. You're losing to a young superstar, and you're looking and you're going, okay, is this team just going to get better and we're just going to be left behind?
Yeah.
Also, so excited to watch Luka, man. Dude, last year in the playoffs,
he's so good.
Oh my God, he was so good. Last year in the playoffs, like, where would you rank him in the NBA? Just in terms of like where would you rank him in terms of players to have on your roster that first round that he had?
Top 5.
Because I think he was easy top 5.
Yeah, top 5 easy.
Dude, he ran oh my God, the way that he controlled that series in a loss. Like, yes, they still lost, but he was completely undermanned.
All right, so
the Clippers last year were
Korzemba. I hate to cut you off, but do you like the Mavericks roster? And I'm gonna ask you the same thing, Flight Mike.
So I feel like the Mavericks roster is just unfortunately incomplete, and I think I don't know what you do with it still though. Like, we've talked about the Mavericks a bunch. Our solution is hopefully they get Kawhi Leonard. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't love the roster, but I don't even think it's well put together around Luka, to be honest with you. Like, a lot of these pieces don't make sense, but Luka makes them work. Yeah. I mean, they definitely need more shooting. I feel like Josh Richardson has been I think he's been underwhelming. I think they thought they were going to get more there. Like, that was a man who, looking back in 2019, was averaging 16.6 a game. He looked like he could be, establishing himself as more of a consistent scorer. And this year, averaging about 12 a game, shooting 43%. I just think a few of their moves haven't worked out the way that they would want them to. I guess we'll see. I mean, maybe Jalen Brunson takes a leap next year.
Yeah, Brunson's pretty good. I like him.
He's someone to definitely look out for.
I really like what Korzemba said, because I think you phrased it perfectly, where I do think they built a good team around Luka. Like, when they went into the offseason, the way it was assembled was 5 out around Luka. Maxi Kleba Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Richardson, well, maybe a little less Josh Richardson, Tim Hardaway Jr., or JJ Redick, while JJ Redick was a mid-season acquisition, Kristaps Porzingis are all players that could presumably space the floor more or less. And
you gotta stop saying JJ, bro. Like, I know he can shoot still, but man, if he's playing
No, I'm not saying JJ is amazing, dude. I'm saying JJ, like, they built a team around him that could shoot the three. And although JJ Redick's taken a step back, ever since becoming a Dallas Maverick, he's been shooting 40% from three.
Yeah, he's shooting, but he's probably not defending. He's playing pretty limited minutes.
To be fair,
not a fan of JJ anymore.
At Duke, he was pretty filthy.
At Duke? At Duke.
Yeah, but like in Duke in 2005, you know?
Dude, that's what I was like. I was a huge Duke fan back then. Like,
Duke,
oh my God. Him and Sheldon Williams, bro, the amount of hate they would get per game, it was unrivaled. JJ Redick would just walk into a freaking arena. Every single student would be chanting, "Fuck you, JJ." And he'd drop 40 on them.
So,
man, I think I'd rather the roster that the Rockets had around Harden than this roster that the Mavs have around Luka. Like, yeah, you want shooters, but you want guys with more two-way potential. And I'm sorry, I'm a salty Pelicans fan, but I'm not taking JJ as a plus to any roster right now.
Dude, we need Porzingis. What needs to happen is Porzingis needs to step up and be that number 2 guy for Luka, you know? Like the guy that could potentially drop 40 in a playoff game. He needs that. Like,
well, that's
especially against the Clippers. There are plenty of teams right now in the NBA that have a guy that's capable of dropping 35 to 40 on any given night.
I think they really could use some upgrades in terms of role players and maybe some savvy veterans. Like, one of my favorite underrated moves of this past year was the Derrick Rose trade. And it was like the perfect trade. You get this player that has familiarity with Tom Thibodeau. You know, he isn't going to light up the scoreboard, but he's a player that everyone will like in the locker room. He's a good leader for a young team. And it ended up paying off, even though they had way too many guards on that team. So I think they need to definitely try to upgrade those role players around Luka. But I think a core of Luka and Kristaps could potentially work out.
So
I feel like it works on paper. It just hasn't.
It looks good on paper, yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't been producing the way we.
I'm not sure their games complement each other on the highest of levels either. I think Luka might be better with like a Clint Capella type center as opposed to Kristaps. Even though I know he does love spacing, I'm a firm believer in you could space the floor, playing big at the dunker spot and being a good lob target.
So maybe an acquisition of like a Nerlens Noel type.
Nerlens Noel would be tough. Didn't they have Nerlens?
They did have Nerlens Noel. So
dude, Nerlens just emerged this year. Like good for him, but yeah.
This tells me a lot about the Mavericks' current roster. So Nikola Melli was really, really bad for the New Orleans Pelicans. Gets traded to Dallas, ends up playing around 20 minutes per game, and still producing around like the same stats he had for the Pelicans. I'm a little worried about this team, but I do think in the playoffs they are going to surprise some people just because of Luka and because they do have some guys on the roster with some potential to go off.
Yeah, Luka has that LeBron potential. He has that potential to drop, a 40, 14, and 12 game on
Which
you.
is why I wish they had more two-way players. Like, you
it
have
really
Luka,
is. It's disgusting.
Doncic. Just get guys that can shoot and defend.
I'm just, dude, I don't know. Porzingis needs to be, like, he's not even an all-star right now, you know? But so it's like, I mean, that's what I'm just saying. He just needs to step up and just... That's what the current state of the roster. They can't make any changes at this point,
Bro, if they had a big that was a legit defensive anchor, give me the Mavs taking a series against anybody in these playoffs. If they just had a big that could set the tone defensively and just like you said, Mike, Nerlens Noel type or a Capella type, that'd just be clutch for them.
Yeah. It sucks because, like, there are times where we just look at teams and we say, hey, the way this roster is being constructed is extremely incompetent. And then there are times where you look at teams and you say, hey, the idea behind the construction of this roster, I see it, I understand it, it just didn't work out. And I think that's the case here for the Dallas Mavericks. I'm sure you guys remember, like, I think it was a month ago when the Lakers played against the Brooklyn Nets without LeBron or AD, and they crushed them. Like, they won 126-101. But in the middle of that game, Dennis Schroder and Kyrie Irving got into it. Like, they got into a bit of a spat, and it was a pretty bad one. They both ended up getting ejected. But if you look at it, maybe I'm biased, so maybe you guys could look at it. Maybe if you want, roll the clip as we're talking about this. But it looks like they're getting into each other's face. Schroeder's like, okay, what am I doing here? And Kyrie Irving's really upset. And then they get separated. Both of them get ejected. And at the end, it really rubbed Schroeder the wrong way, to the point where a month later, he came out and he said he's never going to wear Kyrie Irving's shoes again, and he's going to give away all of his shoes for everybody who wants them. And
yeah, it says he has about 30 to 40 pairs.
Wow.
He said text him.
I really wonder, has the transcript of what these two said to each other ever ended up coming out? So I think it had something to do with, Schroeder calling Kyrie the N-word and Kyrie saying that that's a derogatory slur, and throw that word out of the window right alongside all of those other racist words used to describe my people. So apparently that's where the drama came from. So Schroeder,
what an interesting argument to have on an NBA basketball court.
Well, yeah, Kyrie's, yeah, but it is on brand for Kyrie. That's the path.
That is very on brand for Kyrie. I'll give it to Kyrie. You could hate on the man, which I have, but I'm just saying, you could hate on the man, you could hate on like some of the stuff he does, but he stays on brand. Like that man does not waver.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
He's had a remarkable season, 50-40-90, so, and he's treated the season like a side hustle the whole year, so whatever makes him happy. But yeah, it's really interesting. I really wish that was like one of those situations where they were both completely mic'd up and we could hear what the altercation was, because I'm sure there's more to the story than that.
I mean, if that is the story, it probably would have been kind of hilarious of Kyrie like trying to teach Dennis Schroder a lesson. Like, I don't know how it like went down, but like that'd be kind of just funny, being like, yo, don't use those words, man. Those aren't cool. And then Dennis Schroder just getting more and more angry.
But there's also more about Dennis.
I don't think Schroeder was like mad. I think he was just like, yo, what's going on, bro? Like,
it seemed like both of them were not that, were they? I don't know.
No, I think Kyrie was pretty frustrated, if I remember correctly, but
yeah, and I think this is exactly what happened, because if you look at like what Schroeder said, he was kind of looking at him like, okay, like, you're mad about this, like, really?
So a touchy subject for the whiteness of my skin.
Oh, I mean, fair point.
I'm just
fair point, but I'd imagine if, like, I don't know.
Exactly.
I imagine if
I'd imagine that's what I'm saying, bro.
I'd imagine if, can we get a soundbite of that? I'd imagine if I don't know.
That's my whole. I think we both can just agree that we just, can't put ourselves in.
I mean, here's the vibe I got. The vibe I got was like, this is something Schroeder says to other black individuals, and it was just something he says. And Kyrie Irving, being another person that's black.
Well, my thing with Kyrie is, if you check Schroeder, you're gonna have to check everybody. And I mean, I wonder if he's okay with like KD saying it, James Harden saying it, like, I mean,
yeah.
If you're checking Schroder on it, you got to check Harden. You got to check KD if your teammates are doing it. But personally, I think I love Kyrie. You know, I stand for like just about everything Kyrie stands for. I think he's a dope guy. I think he's gotten a lot of hate, a lot of weird hate. But like when it comes to like this situation, I think he was mad at something else. I think Schroder was kind of like locking him up a little bit, or like just playing like really pesky defense on a pesky defense. And, you know, Kyrie just got frustrated, and it's one of those things that just boiled over. And when you're frustrated, you know, sometimes you just take what you can.
Maybe he just said it and then just doubled down on it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's like, you know, like we've been there.
He took that stance, yeah, and then he was like, you know what? I'm sticking with this.
Yeah. Also, it's not like Kyrie Irving's the most predictable.
Kyrie is one of those guys that sticks with like what he says, like whether he thinks it's right or wrong. Like I've never really seen him like change his mind on anything
or admit that he's wrong. Really?
Yeah. And this is coming.
I mean, I've seen him change his mind.
On
I've seen
what?
him change his mind on national.
He means change his mind
I hate this guy.
Yeah. Like,
that was good.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah. He said he was going to be a Celtic for life. Yeah.
That was nuts. Guys, everyone that is watching, first of all, thank you. But second of all, we're going to do the playoff matchups here based on what we can do because the playing games still have yet to be played. So what do you guys think? Are we cool with just kind of talking a little vague about the 7 or 8 seed matchups? Like, what if the Sixers play the Celtics, for instance, you know? Wait, we have to fill out brackets. Do we want to do that and tweet them out for next week's pod?
Fill out brackets? Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm down.
Playoff brackets?
Or wait, we should wait, right? Like, till the play-ins are over?
Yeah, after the play-ins, we'll fill in full playoff brackets.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for that.
Do we got a wager going, boys?
Yeah. What's the wager?
Loser loses their channel. The other guys split it up.
I have like 5 other ones. Losers.
I'll take the NFL one.
Yeah, I'll take the NFL one too. I got dibs on NFL.
We'll split that one up, Coop. Honestly, you know what? Fine. Coop, you could have the NFL one. I'll take the Flight Mike TV. I'll start making some YouTube drama content. Logan Paul's fight's coming up. Big.
Yeah, I would love to see you jump on that.
I think we should focus on matchups that we think have upset possibilities. Well, so which matchups are those for you guys?
So it would be I feel like the Mavericks and the Clippers we discussed already.
Yep.
We have I don't know, do we consider the 4 and 5 seed to be
No.
We don't need to consider it upset, but we should talk about it. So what would you think for Knicks Hawks? Who do you have? I'll start. I've got the Knicks. I think that they've got I think Tibbs is gonna, come out, do his thing. I think their defense has been on point. I think Trae Young, amazing season by him. The Hawks in general have had a great season. I'm very interested to see what happens when Trae gets kind of a, some more Steph Curry kind of defense played at him. It's going to be his first playoff series. I think it's going to be a learning curve for Trae. I think the Knicks are going to take this one. I'm excited to see Derrick Rose playing some playoff basketball, baby. Now, I know we talked about it before. Mike mentioned it him briefly. Dude, what a pickup. I mean, there's a lot of teams right now that would love to have Derrick Rose as their 6th man. The Knicks have him. Like, what's crazy is that Knicks fans, no hate on Knicks fans right now. This is the season of the Knicks. I don't want to spread any hate towards the Knicks, but I do want to just say it's funny that Knicks fans were kind of 50-50 on Derrick Rose because they wanted quickly to be playing more and they thought Rose was going to cut into his playing time. But then ever since Derrick Rose joined that team, they stepped it up even another level. And dude, they're the 4 seed. I mean, credit to the New York Knicks. No one saw that coming. Like, that is a shocking season.
Yeah, the Knicks are balling out of control. Julius Randle has been amazing. RJ Barrett took a pretty nasty leap too. Nerlens Noel has been giving off Defensive Player of the Year type vibes. Who saw that coming? Yeah, I'm really excited. And like you said, man, the Derrick Rose trade, especially for the price that they got him for, was an absolute steal. I honestly thought Rose was going to end up getting traded to a team like the Lakers for the longest of times, but I'm happy he landed in New York, and I'm excited to see what they can do going forward.
I think it's very surprising that no one else pulled the trigger and made the move for him, honestly.
So
yeah, I wouldn't have minded the Pelicans getting Rose.
Yeah, I mean, he could help a ton of teams.
I actually am going to disagree with both of you guys. I know the Knicks are the sexy pick. You know, everyone wants to say that the Knicks are going to win.
I thought you meant on Derrick Rose for a second. I was going to say, hold on. You know, that's my boy.
But still, hold on.
I know the Knicks are like the team. You know, they're like the sexy pick. They are the big story of the East this year.
Who specifically on the Knicks is sexy? I'm just curious because you said it twice now.
I mean, in terms of like in an ideal world, most people are going to say, oh, the Knicks are better than the Hawks. I don't think that's the case. I think the Hawks in terms of roster construction to their best star, everything is except who's their head coach? Lloyd. It's not Lloyd Pearson.
I'm actually going to disagree. I'm going to say that Julius Randle is. I'm going to get hate for this. I'm going to say Julius Randle's better than Trae Young right now.
Dude, you're a Julius Randle stan. You really are.
Yeah, bro.
I'm not hating. I'm not hating on the standum. I'm just saying you love him. Like love him.
Am I wrong? You guys disagree?
So here's the thing.
No, he's been crushing.
Yeah, he's been awesome. And this is no disrespect to the Knicks, you know, and I could be wrong, but I just love the way the Rockets are constructed. You got Trae Young, John Collins, Clint Capella, Danilo Gallinari. You got Lou Williams, which I don't know. He hasn't been as good this year, but they got their veteran leader in the locker room. That could be a huge benefit to them, especially come playoff time.
I guess. I mean, I don't know if I want Lou Wills.
Like, it's like a nice
veteran leader, but
I mean, it's like a nice combination of young talent in addition to older stars as well. Like Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter. You know, Cam Reddish is still trying to figure it out, but DeAndre Hunter has been developing pretty nicely, although hasn't really been doing well from three. I think that this team could surprise a lot of people. I made a really bold offseason prediction where I said that I thought the Hawks were going to be a top 4 team in the East. I obviously was wrong. They were the 5th, but they also have Bogdan Bogdanovic. You know, it's just a really well-constructed team. That
speaking of DeAndre Hunter, is he good? Like, he's missing the entire year.
He's okay. You know,
I mean, like, is he like he just returned?
Yeah.
Like, how much of a factor is he going to be in this series?
All right, true, fair. But I'm just say like they're
who's going to stop Julius Randle, honestly? Because that's
probably their biggest problem. You know,
I mean, you flip it around, ask the same thing with Trae Young, but I think it's.
I mean, the Knicks are a great defensive team. Yeah,
they're going to attack Trae Young.
And that's my thing. The Knicks specialize, like they're one of the best defensive teams in the league, right? I'm not sure the Atlanta Hawks really specialize in anything. I know their offense is top 10. I'm looking right now. Their offense is currently 9th in the NBA. And in the last 15, their offense has been nothing to write about. Whereas the New York Knicks, I guess they haven't been that spectacular in the last 15 net rating wise either. But the New York Knicks are a defensive team, and in the playoffs especially, it's a half court game. If you're slowing down the other team, you're greatly increasing your chances to win. And it's not like the Knicks have It's not like the Knicks have a shortage of like half court creators. I mean, I think Julius Randle is going to be, just like you said, an absolute problem for the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, Randle, and then RJ picks his spots. And RJ waits for you. You know, RJ's like the type of guy that could have 8 points going into the fourth quarter and drop like a quick 16 on you. Like he's always ready.
This doesn't get talked about enough. Trae Young's like one of the worst defenders in the league.
Yeah, that's my whole thing.
Are going to attack him. You can't let Trae Young. If
who is he guarding?
I'm putting RJ at point guard, and I'm saying let's rock.
It's gonna be. I mean, you could just put Derrick Rose.
Yeah, you could just rock with Rose. Honestly, I mean,
like Derrick Rose is gonna be blown by Trae. I mean, I think
he's gonna be what?
At the end of the day, I think this is gonna be. I mean, prove me wrong, Trae. I would love it. I love good basketball. Not a Hawks hater at all. no matter what we say, apparently people think we're haters on.
Oh yeah, every time
we're just picking one team to win right here. But regardless, I just think this is going to be a good learning experience for a younger Hawks team. I think they'll get a lot out of this, and I think
exactly
the Knicks have some more veteran experience, and they've got Tibbs, who's going to be game planning really well. And so I think that they're going to be winning this.
Just to reiterate, whatever happens this season for the Hawks is a success. We're not hating on
it's already
the Hawks,
been
guys.
A success.
Yeah, whatever happens is a success. So,
like they would take this before the season started. Like the Hawks would take this every time.
Yeah, I honestly think that the Hawks have their pieces already, and at this point, it's all about proper development. Like, what's going to become of Cam Reddish? What's going to become of DeAndre Hunter? Onyeka Okongwu, are you going to be able to develop him properly? You have John Collins, you have Clint Capella, you have Danilo Gallinari, but you have Kevin Huerter. But the problem also is that Huerter, Gallinari, Chris Dunn, Clint Capella, Bogdan Bogdanovic are all dealing with nagging injuries. They're day-to-day, but they're still dealing with nagging injuries, and that should affect them during this playoff run. So it really depends.
Oh my God, their day-to-day injury list is crazy.
This probably sounds dumb too, but man, I would love to have Rajon Rondo right now over Lou Williams.
I agree.
But Rondo was not.
He wasn't. But
he did not want to be there.
Yeah. I would love to have an engaged Rondo over Lou Will. There we go.
Yeah. I agree with you there. He just was not in there mentally. But
I don't think he thought.
The Hawks. I agree, dude. The Hawks are going to be so good. It looks like we talk about teams like the Mavericks. We talk about teams that are like, what do they do next? They have these great players. What do they do next? The Hawks just have assets. They have young players that all could take a leap. We'll see Cam after this Achilles injury. I was so huge on Cam Reddish coming out of the draft. I thought he was going to be really
I honestly, one of my earliest videos was me criticizing Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, and Cam Reddish teaming up together on Duke, because I felt like one of them were going to get the short end of the stick during the NBA draft. And I predicted that player being Cam Reddish.
I thought that because of that, I thought because Cam was the third option, that he wasn't showcasing his full abilities, like Devin Booker, for instance, in Kentucky. And so that's why I thought coming into the draft, I was like, oh, maybe a team's going to, he's going to slip a bit and a team will get a steal out of a guy that wasn't able to play and showcase his full abilities because of Zion and RJ. But as of right now, it doesn't look like, Cam's panning out that way. But, you've got nice surprises in, Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter kind of, where was he drafted? He was the 19th pick, and he's been, overplaying that 19th pick spot, I'd say. You've got Hunter. Yeah. They've got a great young core.
It's hard to call the 10th pick the short end of the stick, too. All things considered, it's pretty solid.
It's going to be a great series. I'm excited. That's fun. See, these kind of first round series are so much better than other first round series we've got in the past of maybe a 4 or 5, because this is this is the Knicks. They've came back. They've proven so many people wrong. They've got young talent in RJ. They've got Julius Randle coming and finally making an all-star team, or not even finally, surprisingly making an all-star team, trying to make a name for himself. Then we've got a young, hungry team in the Hawks. That is hype. That is very exciting. The playoffs this year have some really great matchups. We'll keep going after Mike. What do you guys want to say with this?
After Mike? I wanna make a statement. So I'm gonna let you go first, Mike.
Oh no, I was just gonna make a comment that I think in this race, I don't know about you guys, I can't help but compare the Mavericks and Hawks. How are they building around Trae Young versus how are they building around Luka Doncic? Yeah,
I'd rather Trae's team.
Yeah, I think they're doing a much better job.
You'd rather Trae's team and freaking... Dude, you'd rather Trae's team, and the thing is, imagine Luka on the Hawks.
Championship.
Oh my God.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
But they're so much better.
Maybe. It was right there. It was literally right there.
Bro, Luka next to Gallinari, Capella, he has his lob target. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a game right there.
They drafted him. They took him. They had Luka. With shooters all around, defenders all around, wing defenders, wing shooters.
In Atlanta too. That'd be so much fun.
Dude,
people would view Atlanta as a big market. It is a big market, but I mean,
100%. That is going to come down as like one of the biggest what ifs in NBA history. I'll say it'll probably go down. Luka continues at this career path, and Trey does too. I mean, Trey's killing it, but I mean, he's not like, who knows? If you put Luka on that Atlanta Hawks team this year, like we could be seeing MVP season from him.
I'm going to wait to see what Trae Young becomes when it's all said and done too, because it took Curry a few years to get his feet wet, and I think Trae Young's like 21, if that. So
yeah, Steph came out after a few years in college. He came out after 3. Trey came out after freshman.
Trey would still be in college if he was going on Steph's career path. So yeah, I'm gonna hold off the judgment. So I got this.
Well, Trey's been great. Yeah, I'm not even.
Oh yeah. Of course.
I think we both agree. Yeah, Trey's been great.
Yeah, they're both phenomenal players. Hard to go wrong with either one.
Yeah. So it's just one has the chance of being, like actual top 10.
Yeah. I got this chart in front of me, right? And I'm going to read off some stats. It's called the Efficiency Landscape. It's from Kirk's Goldberry. I used it in my last video. I really like this chart because it tells us what teams have done in the last 15 games. So in the last 15 games, the Golden State Warriors have the number 4 net rating. They're the number 16 offense, the number 2 defense. The Utah Jazz have the number 1 net rating, number 9 offense, number 1 defense. The Portland Trailblazers, who we were really tough on.
Dude, we were.
Have the number 2 net rating, the number 1 offense, and the number 18 defense.
Let's talk that series. I would say that is one of the series we should highlight. Update on the house situation. Guys, if you have been following the podcast, first of all, shout out you. Second of all, we talked about a man who supposedly bet his house on Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers winning 42 games this year, okay? You could do over-unders before the season starts, and you basically bet, like, okay, you predict how many games the team's going to win. So the Portland Trailblazers over-under, I guess, was 41.5, which meant you're either betting over and under. If they win 42 games, then you win the bet. So man tweeted at Damian Lillard, and he said, "How's your hamstring? I need you guys to win 42 games this year or I lose my house. Huge fan, even if I'm in the mansion or homeless." And Dame just goes, "Say less." All he says, which is a baller move now looking back, because they did it. They pulled it off. When we talked about this originally, I specifically know I said, "Say more." Like, don't bet your house, because they were not on pace to do this, but shout out Dame. He did it. However, I'm looking at NBC Sports, guys. I'm looking right now, and it says Damian Lillard caught man in a lie over viral bet on house. And so it's apparently official. And Dame tweets back. Dame comes back to this tweet, pretty viral-ish tweet, 83,000 likes from Dame. He goes back to Lord Treesap, the man who made the bet, and he goes, "LOL, let me see the ticket, bro." Because if you bet your freaking house, you're going to be betting 100,000 at least plus dollars, if not way more. And he said, "You ready to be neighbors?" I'm trying to... And he bet... Oh my God. He bet, I think, $270.
What?
He bet $200. He bet $200 and claimed it was his... He claimed it was his house. Someone goes, "Yo, is this your house, bro?" And pulls up one of those like toy, like little houses you could buy for a kid. Like a play
Yeah, I'm
house.
looking at it right now. That's $214
Oh my
too.
God.
That's tough. They're that expensive.
Bro, I was rooting for the guy too. Like, even like if the Blazers won, it meant that the Lakers would have to play in the play-in, which they did. But I was rooting for the Blazers because I really wanted that guy to win some money.
Dude, you know what? There's a common rule, I think, when it comes to this kind of thing, and it's that guy was suspiciously quiet. Okay, as soon as he started getting the hype and like people like this became a story, he suspiciously never really was like, "Yeah, my house is on the line." He was kind of just like laughing along with it, but he never straight up was like, "This is how much I bet." This is like, if I'm that man, if I'm that man in that situation and the Blazers, they needed to win like 10 out of 12 or something. Like it got dire. Like I don't even know if I'm on Twitter. First of all, I'm probably crying daily, hiding in my bed for while I can because I still have a house at this point. But, that guy would be worried. He'd be freaking out. He'd be tweeting after every game. He'd be exploding, going so happy. He really wasn't doing that. His actions were suspicious to me. Kind of makes sense to me that he didn't actually bet his house, but it sucks because it was a hilarious story. And he would have won, bro. He should have bet his house.
I'll disagree with you right there. If I'm losing my house, I'm probably not getting on social media. I'm probably
Well, no, he was on social media though. He was on it. He just wasn't talking about his house. He wasn't going into like depth about like how much he actually bet. And there were plenty of people tweeting at him going like, yo, how much did you actually bet? All this stuff. Like he was on social media. He was eating up the media, of it. The fact that his name was in the headlines, but he was not worried like he should have been. He was not, posting his, he had his bet ticket right there. He posted it. He could have posted that.
I wonder what he does. I wonder what if Dame does anything, if he actually did, would have lost his house.
I don't know, dude. NBA cares. Build him in a house back.
That'd be tough.
Okay, but anyway, moving on, I guess from that. You know what? Honestly, I will say, screw you, Lord Treesap. You had us hyped. We thought that you had won a house basically, and you won $200. Like, come on.
I went against my own team for this man. I went against the interests of my own favorite team for this guy.
Yeah. I think we can.
Okay, Korzemba, we can't really say screw him when we made a video titled "Guy Loses His House" over bet.
But that's even more. He bamboozled us. We're part of the part of the bamboozle.
It just sounds crazy not being sorry that this guy is losing his house.
Dude, if he actually was on we felt bad for him when he was losing his house. We were rooting for him.
Okay. I see.
I think
now he deceived us. I don't like the deception. But so moving away from the guy's house, Dame did it. He's on fire. Coop, like you just said, the Blazers are crushing it. Honestly, we gave Powell, we gave him a little crap. We were saying, that wasn't a move. That move has been paid off great suddenly. What do you think is going to happen though in this series against the Denver Nuggets? I think this could potentially go 7. I think this is going to be a close series, and I'm very excited to see. I think the key for the Nuggets is going to be Michael Porter Jr. stepping up. And then for the Blazers, I mean, it's taking advantage of the loss of Jamal Murray and potentially the loss of Will Barton too. Is Will Barton out for the playoffs, or is he? What's going on with Will?
I think the key for the Nuggets is containing Dame. I think it's going to come down to, will the Nuggets defend for 48 minutes? I think that's my biggest concern with this Denver Nuggets team. Obviously, the Blazers are going to get Nurkic, and they're going to get Jokic in a lot of pick and roll situations. They're going to try to expose him, and I'm not sure it's a great matchup for the Denver Nuggets.
Who do they stick on Dame? Who is going to be guarding him? Because right now, I don't know who that person is.
I don't think that really matters, because again, I think they're just going to attack Jokic. So I think it's going to come down to, is he going to be able to defend in the screen and roll?
Something I really respect about Dame is he came out and he reiterated his desire to want to win a championship with the Blazers. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, the man is ride or die. And dude, I mean, what I'll say too is he doesn't waver either. When they're down, when they were just a few weeks ago not playing as well, the man does not waver in his desire to stay in Portland. So credit to him.
He's really it used to bother me because I felt like we were watching one of the greatest primes in the NBA go to waste. But honestly, I have a lot of respect for that type of stuff. I was talking to a couple of my friends the other day, and a bunch of Laker fans, and there's definitely a significantly bigger attachment to the Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol Lakers, or even like the Kobe and Shaq Lakers, or any Kobe-based Laker team, than there is to the current Laker team, as a result of Kobe's loyalty to the Lakers throughout all that time. So it's really nice to see Dame doing that. But back to this matchup between him and the Denver Nuggets. I think Damian Lillard's probably going to go off. I think he's going to have really good games. But on top of that, I still think it's going to be one of those situations where we're going to be watching and we're going to say, hey, he's putting it all on the floor. He's doing everything he can. Probably going off for 40, maybe 50. Still isn't enough. And I have the Denver Nuggets winning this in 6.
This is tough because both teams have been playing lights out, honestly.
Give me Portland.
Portland.
6
right,
games.
so
7 games. 7 games. Give me Portland in 7.
So Denver Nuggets first round exit.
Denver Nuggets first round
They
exit.
lost
I like
Jamal.
their team too.
If they didn't lose Jamal, I don't know. It's a whole different story.
I
To
like
me,
their
I
team
think this is
too.
going to come down to Will Barton.
I think it's going to come down
Will
to Porter.
Barton is going to. Will Barton right now is hurt. Saying how much is he going to play?
I just think this is a bad matchup for the Denver Nuggets. I think the Nuggets could win the championship, honestly, even without Murray. But I think this is just one of those things where it's not the best matchup.
If you think the Nuggets can win the championship, I don't think you're picking them against Portland.
Well, I am. I mean, there are some teams
That's a crazy statement.
I mean, there are some teams that are bad matchups for some teams. I remember the Pelicans always used to be. I don't remember who. Oh, it was the Celtics. Like the Celtics were always the better team, but the Pelicans used to destroy the Celtics with Anthony Davis.
To be fair, the Blazers have had trouble guarding tall wing forwards, aka Michael Porter Jr. Their interior defense has been not great. So I wouldn't say this was, a really bad matchup for Denver. I would say it kind of just swings both ways. I'd say it was honestly more neutral. They both have, because Denver, doesn't have Jamal. They don't have perimeter defense right now.
I didn't say it wasn't a bad matchup for. I didn't say
I'd say it's just more equal of a matchup. Yeah, I think if you're picking it to go 7 games.
Well, you could say it's a bad matchup for both sides, and I agree. But I also think it's a bad matchup for the Denver Nuggets. That was my point.
I'm gonna go Denver Nuggets. I'm gonna go Denver Nuggets in 7. I'm gonna go Denver. I think this is just Jokic's season. I mean, is he winning the MVP still at this point? There's been some Steph Curry buzz.
Curry gained some ground on him.
Yeah, Jokic has been amazing.
And I'm gonna go ahead, Coop.
I was just gonna say Curry kind of has that narrative too going, and now he's got that LeBron cosign, and people are kind of gassing it to where oh, if we look back on this season 20 years from now, is that Jokic MVP gonna be a stain where we're oh, well, this would have added to Steph's legacy, blah blah blah. So I mean, I could definitely see Curry winning MVP. I don't want to say he shouldn't, because I think this is one of those situations where both guys are qualified to win it, but ultimately I do think Jokic should maybe.
I'm looking at the sports books, and it's Jokic is an overwhelming favorite, and they're pretty good with this because there's money on the line. Jokic is minus 10,000 right now, which literally means what if you bet $100 you win 10. That is how low his odds are.
I remember when
no, I think you win 1. I think if you bet $100 you win $1.
Oh wow. All right, so Jokic is the overwhelming favorite. I'm not gonna lie,
$10 or $1. He's definitely the overwhelming though, yeah.
2 months ago, 3 months ago, when Curry was initially getting his MVP hype, I came out and said he didn't deserve it. It was at the time where, he was putting up these great games on the Warriors, and I think the Warriors were 10th or 11th in the West or something like that. And my rationale was he's doing these great things for a team that isn't even going to sniff the playoffs. But now that you have this narrative around him where he pretty much backpacked the Warriors to the NBA, to the play-in, that in of itself is extremely impressive.
Yeah, it's one of the nastiest carries I've ever seen.
Yeah.
If people assume that he doesn't have a case for MVP, I mean, I would just laugh at that.
Yeah, I definitely think he does have a case for MVP. But it's crazy because when you look at the NBA rankings, it goes Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, Luka, then Curry. Would you put Luka over Curry? Would you even put Giannis over Curry?
I'm looking currently. The current lines have Steph and Embiid tied, from what I'm seeing on DraftKings, on BetMGM, PointsBet. It's Jokic, overwhelming favorite. The thing is, Jokic is such an overwhelming favorite based on these odds that I'm seeing that it's a guarantee we shouldn't even continue to talk about this. I mean, yeah, it's that crazy. All right, guys. Well, we went pretty in depth into a bunch of matchups for this. I guess this is kind of like part one, I would say, of a playoff preview, because due to the play-in games, we don't really know the full matchups that are going to be happening for the first round. So I guess we could finish up and, of course, give our thoughts on the playoffs going into next week and everything, because we got a bunch of other teams to talk about. Like, we could be seeing the Lakers playing the Suns and the Jazz playing the Golden State Warriors. That's going to be huge. For now, though, Coop, you look like you have a question.
Comments. Who do you have in a fight? TheFlightMike, Mike Korzemba. Boom. Celebrity boxing. Who do you have?
Oh, celebrity boxing? Below. I think he would definitely take me. He's been hitting the gym strong.
You think TheFlightMike would take you?
I mean, he's got a strength advantage for sure.
Bro, strength isn't everything. Have you boxed before?
Dude, I'll give him credit where credit is due. I think I'll dust him in one-on-one basketball, but I mean, we'd have to see. As of right now, you put on some boxing gloves for me. I've never boxed. I've never, taken a punch really.
If we're talking wrestling, he's taking you, but boxing, come on.
Dude, I mean, I was in a fraternity in college. Like, I used to get into fist fights with the lacrosse kids, but other than that, I haven't been in a fight in 7 years.
Can we hear one of your fight stories?
Sure. All right. Boom. All right.
Holy crap.
So, in my fraternity, St. John's University, Queens, a little hardened. I'm just kidding. But so at the bar, I was huge rivals with the lacrosse kids. I hated them, and because we used to always, compete with parties, and I have a fiance, so I'll say my other brothers would compete for girls with the lacrosse kids as I studied. But anyway, get into a argument with the lacrosse team at a bar one day. All right, one of the bars, and I have my boy's back. He is 1-on-10 versus the lacrosse kids, and I come up and I start screaming. I'm like, yeah, fuck you guys. You're trying to fight him 1-on-10. I swear to God, my boy just dips. He's gone. He leaves. He leaves me in a 1-on-10 situation. So I'm like, are you kidding me? Luckily, this is a bar where I have a ton of friends, and we knew the owner back then of the bar and everything, and they just end up kicking the lacrosse kids out. But the lacrosse kids are they mentally take a photograph of my face and are like, we're gonna get you. And I'm like, all right, sure, whatever. The thing is, back then we were going out 4 times a week, and we would see each other all the time. So it led to several weird confrontations where they were being oh yeah, fuck you, bumping into me. Finally, all escalated. I walk outside a different bar, all right? And I walk in and I go to get cash at an ATM next door. And I notice that there's literally 14 lacrosse kids just all sitting there. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I walk, they start chirping me. They're saying some things. I'm like, all right. I walk back in the bar and I go to a few of my friends and I'm like, dude, I swear to God, as soon as I walk outside of this bar again, I'm going to be jumped. I'm like, you've got to have my back. I get 5 people to have my back. I walk outside this bar. Kid literally points at me and goes, there he is. Runs at me. Throws a haymaker at my head. Keep in mind, these are D1 athletes. Luckily, everyone's drunk. Luckily, punch comes at my face. I duck under it. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like seeing things in slow motion. Might have been drunk, but just, seeing things in slow motion. I throw a jab into this guy's stomach. We both go down on the ground. And I can vividly remember for about 10 seconds, like I was on top of this guy. Pause, sus, but whatever. I was on top and I throw some punches at this guy. Boom, hit him. I'm like, dude, I'm winning. This guy's bigger than me. They had previously in the past been like, dude, why do you think you could fight us? We're D1 athletes, this whole thing, whatever. I'm like, I'm winning. All right. Next thing you know, I get kicked in the back of the head by another guy.
Oh,
boom.
Real classy.
I just cover up as 15 lacrosse kids just start kicking and stomping on me on the ground, kicking me. I'm like, oh my God. Like, am I gonna I'm just kind of just covering up like this. My boy, George Corey, shout out to him and my boy Dave. They knew the lacrosse kids. They were, friendly with them. They stopped it, luckily, from getting any worse. And somehow I didn't get hurt, face-wise, because they only hit my back. But I woke up and my back was like severely bruised. And yeah, that was one of my college fighting stories. I have a few, actually. I have like 5 or 6.
So would you say you won or did you lose?
I was about to say 5.
Dude, I was saying...
You got your ass beat.
Dude, I won in a moment. But then, then they freaking 15 on 1B. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, like something similar happened to me. But I think I managed the fight or flight properly. So I was like 22 and we were...
Yeah, I was around that age for this as well, by the way.
Yeah. And I was at this like one fraternity. We were celebrating one of my friend's girlfriend's birthdays. So we were like outside in the balcony area and, we're just hanging out, there are like girls hanging out with us. I was there, a couple of my buddies, my brother, just drinking, having a good time, taking vitamins and whatnot. And eventually I see this like guy was getting really was kind of like squaring up with one of like my good female friends, getting
what?
all up in her. Yeah, it was like really weird. It was
he
like
was
getting
squaring
all up in her
up?
face. Like, no, like he was doing like a little bit of this, like getting to her face. And I'm like, okay, that's, she seems like she could, use some help. I also thought her friend was kind of cute. So, and I've never met her before. So, I decided to like linger around that area.
Guys, if you watched the last pod, this was the girl that broke his heart. Anyway, continue.
So I go up and eventually I like talk to the guy. I'm like, hey man, this is a chick, maybe why do you look like you're about to fight her? And the guy's like out of his mind. He's like really hammered. He's like, get out of my face, bro. And I'm like, all right, I'll get out of your face. Just let's separate you two. And I'm like kind of getting in between them and doing a little this. And the man swings at me. And I remember like as he was swinging at me, I'm like at a balcony. Like think of my left side is like the balcony. And if you could fall over, to the right side is a bunch of windows into apartment buildings. So like, if you could open the window, see outside into the balcony. So that's what's on my right side. I fall back and I remember thinking, God damn it, I have to fight now. I don't want to fight. Like I'm not in the mood. It's not my vibe. I was like very mellowed out. I was very chilled out. And I pretty much like, I'm a huge dude. I swing at the dude. He falls over. Then I grab him and I like throw him through the window. Window shatters.
Through the window? No, wait, what?
Yeah, I throw him through a window inside someone else's room. Okay? Someone else was in that room and he was like really...
You're saying you threw a man through a window?
Yes.
How damaged was his face?
So I didn't really see the face. But I saw the back, and the back was bloody as hell.
Wait, why did you... Wait, you went from a chill vibe to I'm gonna Hulk throw this guy?
Dude, yeah, he hit me right, like medulla oblongata was like going nuts. He's like, yo, you should be angry about this. So I got up and I'm like, okay, bam, 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 picked him up, threw him through a window. And And then I started walking away, you know, like I was like, okay, I don't want to fight anymore. I'm done. Like, I really don't like fighting unless if I have to. So I start walking away, and the guy whose apartment that I threw the kid into came in and like looked at me. He's like, who did this? And I looked at him, I tell him the situation. I'm like, hey man, this guy was trying to hit a girl. You know, I was trying to defend the girl. Girl's friend is kind of cute. My bad. I hope you understand. And like, he looks at me, he's like, just get out of here, bro. I'm like, okay, for sure. So I'm downstairs, and like maybe 5 minutes later, I like go to my brother and my friends. I'm like, yo, we should probably get out of here, you know? So we get out of there, and I see like the guy whose apartment that I threw the kid into, completely separate, is walking down like the hill as I'm walking, and has like a wooden stick. Someone has a bat, you know, and like kind of he does like one of these, like where he's like pointing it at me, you know what I mean? You know, I stood there, and he caught up to me, started swinging at me. I noticed that it was like a 8-on-2, and that I'd get my ass beat if I stayed there. So I ran away. Like, you know, fight or flight was managed properly there. So that's
Flight Mike.
Hey.
All right. Well, so we just learned that Mike threw a guy through a window. Coop, you look like you got something to say.
You're a monster. No.
That's dude, I don't fight like unless if I have to, you know. I really don't. I'm not into.
But when you do,
you throw guys through windows.
You literally become a Marvel superhero.
No, that's just something that some swole.
Wait,
guy
look
would
at
do.
Coop's shirt.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's the Hulk shirt. No, that's just some swole shit. You know how like swole people do like unnecessary shit sometimes. Like
Mike's like thing was like like I had to fight, so this guy through a window.
Yeah,
it wasn't like I just threw a quick jab, just pieced him.
Wait,
hold on. How close were you to throwing him off the balcony?
No, I made sure. That's why I threw him through the window. I wanted.
Was it like left or right? No.
Yeah, I like wanted to make sure this didn't turn it because he was drunk. You know, I had a couple of drinks. I didn't want this to turn into something where I threw him over the balcony. So
and you killed him.
Yeah, I didn't want to kill the guy.
You just wanted to give him damage to his arms or face forever, because that broken glass probably was no joke.
So I eventually go back. A bunch of the dudes in the frat tell me like, hey, this guy is a huge piece of crap. None of us like him. You know, like he is human garbage. Both of them, actually. The guy that like you threw the apartment like renter, and the guy that you initially got into a fight in. So if you could come in and like file something with our like judge counsel situation, we could get him kicked out, and we would really appreciate that. So I said, okay, for sure. So I go back, and I tell their little counsel what happened, and so I snitched on the guy, but I snitched on the guy because like everyone in the fraternity hated the guy, and there's no way that they could get him out. And so eventually, like, he was homeless for a little bit. He got kicked out, but right before he got kicked out, he looked at me, and he like begged for mercy, and I just said, get out of my face, and snitched on him.
Oh my god, and snitched on him. So we got a story of Mike throwing through a window, Mike becoming the origin of Flight Mike, him taking flight. We got Snitch Mike. It's great. That's a great story.
Coop never struck me as a fighter. Like, he's too chill of a guy.
Yeah, I mean, Coop's chill. He's also so tall and big that that's like also. I just feel like you just naturally would not get in as many fights because who would pick a fight with you? Yeah. Like, people looked at me. I'm 5'10". You know, I was definitely more athletic build in college, but like, you know, people wouldn't look at me and be like, oh, not messing with that guy. They'd be like, I could take that guy. And I would look at them and be like, I could take that guy. And then, you know, a few fights happened, and it was college, and haven't fought since. I've not been in a fight since college, of course, but, you know, college is wild. Dude, some of those Queens bars, bro, like, I saw chairs being broken over people's heads. I swear to God.
That's like some Sons of Anarchy type ish,
bro.
Dude,
did you go
Queens?
To?
I went to St. John's, bro. Jamaica, Queens. It's literally no messing around. There are some people there that will not mess around. Like a few times, people brought a gun to the bar. They weren't, most of the time it wasn't a St. John's student. It would just be like a local guy. But like, dude, shit would get scary. Like, you would just be like, you wouldn't want to mess with the wrong person, you know? So, and unfortunately, when you're a college kid, you don't think as much of like messing with the wrong person. You're kind of just like, oh, you fucking walked in front of me at the bar. Fuck you.
So,
guys, try not to fight.
Yeah, please don't.
Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the latest episode of Laced Up and our fight stories. If you liked them, feel free to comment down below, and we'll do more of this kind of stuff. I know we want more questions and more comments from you guys because we want to do things like give advice. You know, I know Coop really, really wants to give relationship advice. Like, I know it's like in his soul.
If we could get like a 5 to 10 minute segment of Coop giving people relationship advice, like,
no,
oh my God.
You want to know who gives good relationship advice?
The Scoop with Coop.
No, I need to be in a relationship to give relationship advice. I'm good at being broken up with.
Korzemba, let me have this.
I'm just saying, the Scoop
before we completely sign out. You know, there was a time I was on Tinder, right? And I was struggling. You know, I just got on Tinder, right? You know, I didn't know how the game worked. I didn't know it was all about the pictures and whatever. And so I get flight.
Wait, stop. What did you think Tinder was about? If you think it was about the pictures?
No, I just thought like you have to have like a certain type of picture. Like, you know, it's like putting together a profile is like constructing like doing a painting or something, right? It's like a piece of art. But you know, I just threw up a few selfies, whatever, called it a day. I didn't know like you got to have pictures to show like you got friends and you go out and you travel. You know, I didn't know it was a whole game with Tinder. So whatever. Anyways, I was down bad for a little, so I ended up letting Flight Mike give me some Tinder advice. And I honestly don't even I don't
that got so close. Guys, everyone on the pod, just listen. I was down bad, and so I let Flight Mike give me blank. It was for a second. This is for a second time. For a second time, just stopped. I was down bad, and I let Flight Mike give me advice.
I got down badder. I was down worst.
I mean, like, dude, when you do get out of a relationship, you are down bad, and like, yeah, those dating apps.
We've all been there.
People. Yeah, it's normal. You know, that's 100% normal. That's fine.
Can I say the advice that he told me?
Dude, dating apps are great.
Oh no, is it good advice or bad advice?
They are great.
Coop, what was the advice I gave you?
When I think about it, it might not be podcast appropriate.
No, you gotta. Now you gotta.
No, we'll let the editor decide if it's podcast appropriate.
It might not be podcast appropriate.
All right, we'll tell it, and then we'll react, and we'll see.
Okay, so you know like how some guys like to show off their physiques, their abs, their muscles.
Yeah.
Flight Mike was like, have you tried showing off your ass? And I was like,
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
He's making this up.
No,
I never said that. No, what are you doing?
I wish.
What are you doing?
I wish.
Kids, bro, my parents listen to this podcast, bro.
I wish I was making it up.
Hi, this is Flight Mike.
I never said that.
If
guys, you don't.
Did it work?
Flight Mike,
I didn't take the advice. It never happened.
I didn't take the advice, but
dude,
I thought about it.
Why would Coop lie?
But I thought about it.
Why would Coop lie to make me look like an idiot? What do you mean,
bro? I paraphrased. Do you want me to say what you really said?
Yeah, say it. Yes.
What'd I say?
Choose violence.
What'd I say?
You were like, have you ever tried sending ass pics, bro? And I'm like, what the fuck?
I never said that.
Yes, you did.
I never said that.
We can ask Berg, because I told Berg when you said it.
No. Berg's going to blindly take your side.
I was like,
I never said that.
Bro.
Oh, my God.
I wish I was lying.
Bro, we're never going to get sponsors on this pod. Oh, my God.
Dude, we'll get the best sponsors.
Bro, maybe AdamandEve.com.
I was never going to get a girl either. Like, that was terrible advice.
Oh, my God.
Bro. Dude, if you got it.
My dad listens to this pod. He's a man of God.
I was going to say, if you got it, flaunt it.
In your defense, maybe it's something you wanted to try, but you wanted to see if it would be successful with somebody else first, so you wouldn't look like, you know, like a dummy. But I didn't appreciate that. I didn't appreciate that. And it was from that moment I stopped taking your advice from that moment. It was good for everybody.
What are you doing?
Dude, honestly, the real advice anyone needs to know is just put a nice little puppy in your arms, and there you go.
Dude, that's a good piece of advice. That's really good advice, actually.
Make yourself look interesting in the pictures. No selfies.
Yeah, that
make yourself look like you travel.
Yeah, you don't want to be people judge selfies way too much.
They definitely do.
People love and like females love when you take gym selfies, when you take mirror selfies with your shirts off, and women just love if you convey that you're a huge narcissist. And when you talk about yourself,
you have a profile, don't you, right now?
No, I don't.
Oh damn, bro!
Yeah.
Actually, that would have been good. That would have been good content right there.
Dude. I mean, it's probably still there, ready to be activated.
Flight Mike taught me the power swipe. Guy's a legend. This guy used to have an app that swiped for him. This guy is a legend,
bro. You are exposing.
So at the height of my Tinder game, this was a while ago, but a friend of mine and I were like, listen, man, we're career men. We got goals, you know. We want to grind. So we tried to establish the system.
We're career men.
We're career men, dude. Listen.
How old are you?
Bro, look. You know that little app. You know how there's an app that tells you the screen time. My boy, not me, but my boy had this thing at 3 hours long where he was swiping. So I look at it. I'm like, listen, man, this isn't healthy. You know, we need to come up with a better way to use our time. So I tell him, look, here's an auto swiper app. Okay, let's use this auto swiper app. I don't want to talk to these women, you know, because most of the time when I talk to them, I have no personality. They don't want to talk to me. So most of the time, whenever I talk to them, it goes nowhere. So what I'm going to do is we're going to outsource the conversation to a virtual assistant that we could hire from India. You know, and Ranjit was my personal assistant. I'm not kidding. You
literally had a guy talk to girls for you from India.
It was genius. And what do you mean
brilliant. It's genius?
What do you mean it's not genius?
We're talking about down bad? We're talking about down bad.
It's entrepreneurial.
You had an app that swiped for you, and we had a freaking fake guy.
How's it down bad? I didn't want to use the app.
And he still wasn't getting no chicks.
You just yourself said that you couldn't talk to the girls, so you had to hire someone for you. How is that not down bad?
No.
Let me say this. After further review, I wasn't down bad.
Further
review, the bar has changed. I might have been all right.
Oh my god!
You guys could hate on me. I was a genius. I was ahead of my time.
It didn't freaking even pay off.
It didn't pay off, but I'm an experimental guy.
Another quote. Mike's an experimental guy, bro. That's your Tinder bio.
I'm an experimental guy. I love it.
I hate you guys.
Oh my god! All right, well, thank you guys for watching.
This podcast
Make sure to subscribe. This podcast is also on Apple and Spotify. The links to both Apple and Spotify will be down below. As you guys know, we are doing a giveaway at 40,000 subscribers. We're giving away PS5 or an Xbox Series X. So hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications.
Flight Mike is also giving away Tinder advice.
Yeah. Wait, you could win. Honestly, you could win a PS5 or you could win a one-on-one 1 hour session where Mike sets up a Tinder profile for you. Goodbye. If you're still here while the music is cued, here are 2 videos I think you are definitely going to enjoy. Make sure to click on one of them. Again, I know you're going to love it. And other than that, have a great day and peace.